It is Sunday morning, and you know what that means. That means that it's not your normal Sunday morning show. I'm Jeffrey Daugherty coming to you live from an undisclosed location somewhere deep in the heart of American flyover country. And he's Wayne Steiger, who needs no introduction anywhere in the civilized world. How are you, Wayne?
I am favored, my friend. How are you, Jeff? I love that. Every time you say that, I get this feeling of somewhere in, Montana in a nuclear bunker. It's like the old missile silos.
It's just like that, only different.
Well, that's exactly the flyover country. I'm doing good. So are you? How about yourself?
I'm doing a lot better than that lady you were just telling me about from Russia. What a sad story.
Yeah, 130 years old. And she just recently said that she did not have one happy or joyous day here on Earth.
Not one happy or joyous day in 130 years.
Yeah, prison planet.
That's almost impossible to do. You think that you would mess up and get happy a day or two just by happenstance.
You think about it. She lived through Stalin, Lenin,
Oh, that's true.
Khrushchev. She lived through the Tsar Wars. I mean, wow. Her life just had to be, I'm reading about the Cathars right now. And, that gets you into 12th century history, France, the Vatican. Wow. Yeah.
Wayne, it's interesting because I went to the Soviet Union before the Berlin Wall fell, while it was still the Soviet Union. And I remember going over there, and it was like, of course, I had never done this before that I know of, but it was like going back in history 30 years. There was no bright colors. People wore very drab clothing. They wouldn't look at you. And it was just an overall feeling of people not happy whatsoever. So this lady grew up in that era, and that's all she knew. And maybe that becomes a part of you, Wayne.
Wow. I just can't imagine that. But then again, I can't imagine the horrors that she had to have witnessed as well.
I mean, this is a lady that when she was born was being carried about in a horse-drawn carriage if she was lucky.
Mm-hmm.
And when she died, she could have flown on the Concorde.
She could have gone. Well, she could have. She had the money, taken a trip to space. I mean, you think about it.
That's true. She could have gone with Richard Branson up there, huh?
Yeah. And it shows you how reality is so easily painted for us, because in her reality, you described it very well. It was soulless, drab.
It was.
And I think that that's where we're heading, is for the same soulless totalitarianism in not only in society, speech, but I think spiritual as well.
Absolutely. Wayne, I found out something new this week. Do you know what a lich is?
Well, I think it's like a soul sucker, isn't it?
Well, a lich, let me just show you real quickly, and this just blew my mind. See if this reminds you of anybody or anyone. A lich, Wayne, is it's from the Old English word meaning corpse. It's an undead creature. And the definition of undead here is a creature that is deceased but behaves as if it were alive. A undead being is a corpse reanimated by supernatural forces. And it's often a king trying to achieve immortality. And this lich usually has power over hordes of lesser undead creatures, using them as soldiers and servants. Does that remind you of anybody? And before you answer, let me also remind you that in Old English, the entrances to the churchyard were called lich gates. Can you believe that?
Actually, I can. It's real interesting. So I'm reading this. It's a textbook. It's the Perfect Heresy is the name of it. And the Cathars, you know what they believe of the Christian church?
What they believe?
That they're worshiping the imprisoner, the imposter, the evil one. They claim that anything that attaches itself to any type of materialism in this realm is not of God, or of the construct of God. They came out and told the papacy that they were just fact and worshiping what we would call today Lucifer, Satan, that the Christian religion is and always has been and always will be nothing more than a false religion predicated on the imprisonment and slavery of the human soul and personality and body.
And, interesting because a lich, Wayne, it's desiccated. It's a corpse. It's not like a zombie. It has full intellect and is usually really, really smart because it's been around for a while, but it's rotting and its skin is falling off and it's drawn and it needs constant sacrifice to keep it going. And if Jesus was a lich, if plastic Jesus was a lich, it would sure help to explain why there's so much communion, why there's so much of the Eucharist, even though why there's still all the sacrifice, even though the temple's been gone since AD 70. Maybe that brother's just trying to keep his complexion up.
Well, you think about the Inquisition that started under Pope Gregory and then Pope Righteous, the third. They exhumed corpses. And
they did.
Yes, they did. Again, it's real interesting about the 12th century. Many historians and theologians believe it was a critical point in humanity's direction.
The 12th century.
Yep, we had a chance to go and flourish with free thought because we were coming out of the Dark Ages into the medieval ages. And the Cathars saw this. They said that the cross that the Christians use today, that is the cross of the astrological god.
We just had Wayne Herschel on the Last Stand, and he was saying that very thing.
Yeah. So all these churches, all the Bible reading, everyone's doing. Let me ask you this. How old was Isaac when supposedly Abraham led him up the old mountain?
Well, it's funny you asked, but I would say that Isaac was the same age as Christ supposedly was at the cross, around 33 or so.
37
34.
is what they see in the records. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say real close to that.
The story is perverted. It was not Abraham that was under any compulsion. Abraham did crap. In fact, in the Zohar, very interesting, the accuser of the brethren accuses Abraham and God convicts Abraham by the accuser. Oh, yeah. So
I contend that the ram in the bush wasn't really a ram, but it was a kid. It was another sacrifice, child sacrifice.
No,
instead of Isaac.
According to the Zohar, Isaac entered and emerged as it was written. Isaac went up to Amalek, king of the Philistines, and the Gehar, and then went up to Beersheba, where he actually then went up. Isaac went up willingly. Abraham had nothing to do with it.
Interesting take.
Yeah. And then Satan accuses Abraham because Satan came as a poor beggar at Abraham's door and tent, and Abraham was entertaining 3 distinguished dignitaries and ignored the poor man. Well, the poor man was Satan.
How about that?
And then Satan goes back up to Yahweh and says, hey, I'm going to bring charge against this guy that you're saying is so righteous. And Yahweh agreed.
Is that the derivation of the idea that you might entertain angels unaware?
I think that's probably where it came from.
Oh, so see, even that is turned around on its head to us.
Yeah,
and, I mean, Rocker Chick made a good point. She said, medieval, mid-evil. We had a chance to turn it around, but we were immersed in the midst of evil.
What they did to the Cathars was that the Cathars were the poster boy of what the papacy and the monarchy had to get rid of. Because the Cathars believed in free thought and accountability. Now, they had some weirdness of it, but overall, the papacy, and there were 3 popes that were involved in this crusade in over 20 years. They were going to be damn determined to wipe this out and put the heavy hand of the church. And that's what they did.
Absolutely. Wayne, let me ask you a question. This is difficult for us sometimes because we don't know who we are. And I wanted to ask you your thoughts on this. How much influence can a single human being, how much effect, how much of a difference can a single human being, just one of us, really make, Wayne?
I think within each person has the ability to alter the world.
Let me show you something that I discovered very much by happenstance, and it literally almost shocked me. Can you see that?
Mm-hmm.
So this is the view out of the backyard where I'm staying right now. And this is a big lake and it's frozen. The whole lake's frozen over. Down here you can see the dock and the little ladder. And this hole right here is the hole that I chopped in the ice to go dunk myself under this water. I know it sounds crazy, but
Well,
that's not really, what's that?
each of us have our own path.
We do. So I did this when I took this picture about 8 times. I had gone into this water and was in for a maximum of 10 seconds. But the thing that caught my eye, Wayne, is one guy weighing less than 200 pounds for 10 seconds a day for less than 10 days. And look at the effect that it had on the environment. Look at these cracks going 250, 300 yards all the way across this lake, all leading right back to that one little hole that just one little guy went in just a little bit of time every day. And if one person can make that much of an impact on an ecosystem, what kind of an impact are we making on our spiritual ecosystem?
Well, that's a deep question. But when I see that too, when you talk about taking your dives, that is the only time every man is created equal.
When he's underwater?
In the cold water.
I got you, Wayne. There you go.
It's a Seinfeld episode. Remember George when the shrinkage? Yeah. Shrinkage.
And I remember George Horror when Elaine says, "No, I've never heard of that."
Well, I'm glad that you're enjoying it. It is stimulating. There's no doubt about it. And
I would say it's transformational so far. I've been up to 10 days now. So
well, the sun is rising higher, so enjoy it while you can, because
absolutely, we're up in the mid 50s here today, which is unheard of.
Yeah, it's definitely very odd. So, studying of history, where do you think the interpretation of the pine cone came from?
Well, interestingly enough, I know where you're probably going with this, towards the pineal gland and stuff, but did you also know that the pine cone is the international symbol of hospitality?
Yes. Actually, I wasn't going with the pineal gland. Actually, I'm going further back to the cult of Bacchus.
Oh, okay.
I'm reading a book right now called Spirits of Initiation.
Which puts hospitality into a different context.
Well, listen, actually break out the word hospitality.
Absolutely.
It's not what you think.
No, it's not.
So here's something I just thought I'd share with our audience today. The pine cone, this is from way back. This is Strobolus. This is what this particular, getting into the cult of Bacchus, you get into Dionysus.
Dionysus?
Dionysus. And that cult was really interesting because today, modern Christianity, in fact, all religions that I see have the seeds of this ideology. I don't know.
Do you think if that Russian lady had been in the cult of Bacchus, she might have had at least one good day?
At least one. So the pine cone, actually, all souls start out as pine cones. For the soul proceeding from the round figure, which is the only divine form, is extended into the forms of a cone in going forth.
I like that round is the only divine form.
It is. In the Zohar, Jeff, angels are not bipedals. Angels are not wings. Angels, spirits, are all spears.
I can see that. I think that's probably much more closer to the reality that we would perceive.
It was just kind of when you begin to think about this, and I believe that this is again part of this knowledge. I think that's why so many people see orbs, and I have viewers and subscribers that record them, and you have them as well.
Yeah.
Those are, in fact, I think now that we get through the disinformation and the branding of people that, oh, you see spears, orbs. But yeah, they're here. They're everywhere.
Wayne, you have a teddy bear back there that I haven't noticed before.
Oh, he's always been there. Yeah, that's my navigator and co-pilot.
Oh, okay, great.
And you see he's got a walking stick next to him.
I see that.
Yeah, so yeah, always got the back. But this is an interesting book, I have to say, Jeff. It's they warn you right in the beginning that if you're not prepared for understanding, and this one is the toys of Dianaians.
Oh,
So,
really?
Yes.
Yeah, that would be very interesting.
It gets into the deeps. Do you believe that there is, in fact, spirits that make a decision whether to be good or evil as man perceives them? Or do you think that they're just simply are?
I think they all make a decision.
I think they do too. I think life goes on far beyond what we, think about. I read today that one of the things that the Cathars believe that you had 10 chances of getting it right here.
10 different lives or 10 chances within each life?
10 different lives.
I don't know about the 10, but I've always had this sneaking little crawling suspicion in the back of my mind that even though the divine is gracious and even though the divine wants us to be successful, that it comes to a certain point where if you don't get it, you just got to, go back to the, be reduced back to the original building blocks, and, some other spirit's got to get a chance. Because, there has to be some limit to the over and over and over, or it doesn't make sense anymore.
Yeah, I want to tell you what I've been meditating on, Jeff. I think we've got this all wrong. In order for life, right, creation, I think that we were created in a lab. That's just where I think all the evidence is leading to, that we were a result of something that wasn't anticipated. We gained what they called sentience. That meant that we have a soul, which was not expected. And when this happened, it put us into a league with the others. And I think that in order for energy, I can't see how you could be doing this and be making any progress. I don't see how that is even feasible.
I don't think you are.
I don't see how you can come back reincarnated, because then, I don't know. That tells me then, and here's my point, that knowledge is not transmutable at death. Everything we do here is in vain.
Until we realize that it is in vain. And yeah, I think reincarnation is a mistake. You only reincarnate because you don't know how to not reincarnate, and everything here is designed to make us reincarnate. I would take it from another standpoint. I think that we're seated by the divine, that we do have divinity and sovereignty and freedom within us, but everything is set up here to make us forget that, and we keep coming back until we remember it and take the appropriate actions. And if we don't do that within a certain amount of time, well, the clock runs out and game over.
Yeah, that is another form of mind control, because here, Lynn and I were talking about this, and I told her, I said, I've come to the conclusion of this. The greatest fear that I had about death was the nothingness, that I wouldn't remember me. Now I'm at that stage in, I don't know, my evolution, development, whatever. It doesn't matter to me. It really doesn't. It doesn't hold any fear. If that's what it is, fine. I can accept that. I happen to choose that I think it's differently, and that's why I'm going down this path. But this whole thing about the reincarnation, and I challenge anyone who believes that in their theology, is that then it puts, number one, the experience of the body at a very diminished level. Two, it's very evident then that knowledge is not transmutable at death. That means that we're completely wiped again. Three, then that gives me all indications that I'm not a sentient free soul, that I'm in fact a prisoner, because a free man doesn't need a savior.
Exactly right.
Only slaves need saviors.
Mm-hmm.
So are we a slave?
Well, we're slaves until we realize we're not, because we've allowed ourselves to become slaves in these bodies, and until we realize that and realize this is not us, then we are still slaves.
So it gets me to the next point. We read these words supposedly by some cat named Christ, Yahshua, whatever you want to. I've put $100 challenge out there for anyone that will show me where it is in the documents of the Bible, the three names that supposedly Pilate nailed above the Savior's head.
That's $100 you'll never have to give away.
I'll never have to give it away. So I contend there never was an actual Jesus. Whoever wrote this narrative, I swear, Jeff, it's a trap. You get caught up into this supposed Christ message, and this is what I'm keep people hearing, and I'm going, so what is the message? Are you telling me that I'm sinful, that I need a way back? Which version of man sinned then? So I can discard that. So what was this message? And this has got me leading. I had a person write me and said, look into the cult of Bacchus. You'll find your Jesus Christ right there.
And I think you will. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a fear and guilt control matrix from the beginning. And the funny thing about it is, and it's funny, tragic, not funny, ha ha, is that within this fear and guilt control matrix, they've got these great little episodes of faux enlightenment that make us think, oh,
yes,
we've discovered the truth, we're free, but you're just as bound as you've ever been. And the ones that, it makes me laugh, but it's really sad, is the ones that, the Hebrew identity ones, the Yeshua and the Yahweh and the festivals and the feasts and the G-D and the prayer shawls and all this stuff. They think that going back towards the original Jewish or original Hebraic stuff is the way to go. And they forget about John 4:22. And if they would read that in the original Greek, Paul says salvation is from the Jews.
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
But what they don't read is it's ekbalo. Salvation is getting out of the Jews, away from the Jews. And you silly Sabbath keepers, you silly feast keepers, you silly Yahshua, Hashua, Yamashua, Hondashua. You're so silly. Think you're enlightened, but you're being drawn further and further into the trap. Salvation is getting out of the Jews, away from the Jews, not becoming more Jewish. Come on, man.
Oh, I had one guy just try to rip me a new one this
week.
And
I'd been there, Wayne. I've done that.
Yeah, I know you have, and that's why the experience shows and what we do here. And it's insulting to all my Christian friends that are out there. I had a very kind person. I don't know how old she is. She sounds like an experienced soul, who lives outside Singapore.
Oh, very nice.
And she said that she was old enough that she remembered Christian missionaries coming in. And she says, why? She says, why does not anyone ever talk about the Chinese gods? They're older than the Hebrew God. They're even probably older than the Sumerian gods. We never hear of the Chinese gods.
That's an interesting point. And the serpent, aka the dragon, is very prominent in Chinese theology as well.
And very prominent, yeah. So I just thought that I'd pass that on. I mean, because I read the email and I went, well, you know what? She's right. Do you know of any of the Chinese gods?
I know nothing of the Chinese gods.
I couldn't tell you one.
And I mean, I'm woefully ignorant of, the Chinese. If it's not on a Chinese restaurant menu, I don't know anything about it, and I probably should learn more. That's very terrible.
I think it's it might be, I'm not saying it's the whole pie, but it may very well be something there. Didn't the book of Acts say that the Holy Spirit restrained Paul from going into Indo-Asia?
Into Asia, yeah. And our friend Nigel either lives in China now or has
Yeah.
spent a lot of time in China. And I've always had this pull. It's interesting you mentioned that several times. And I ordered a book about Chinese astrology. Several times I've had a pull to think about it and to address it. So yeah, and it's interesting. The Holy Spirit did forbid Paul supposedly from going into Asia. Interesting.
And is not the story of Nathaniel supposedly in the pseudo-apocrypha that he went into India and they boiled his ass alive?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I always found it odd. Why did not the mind constraint mechanism ever encroach into Eurasia, Indo-Asia, or Asia itself?
Just looking at the map, Paul, if he'd have been motivated to, he probably could have gone into at least the eastern parts of China, because
Yeah. Turkey. I mean, he was in Turkey, right?
He was in Turkey, so he was.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a long camel ride, but he could have done it.
And so you bring out a very good point. I have another book that's on, I haven't read it yet, but they contend that the race of Homo sapiens that emerged out of Siberia is another story that has not been told. And when you had that map up, isn't it odd that you just see this little pineal gland, what I call the whole Fertile Crescent area, and this is where we focus our whole origins from?
Interesting. And the bearded one says that China's controlled by a different alien.
Bingo. Bingo. I was told decades ago, Jeff. Do you remember Hilton Sutton?
I do.
Okay. So Hilton and I were really good friends. He kind of took me under his wing in a lot of ways. And he told me that there was a rabbi, and I know where the story comes from, that there were actually a council of 10 Elohims, and they each divided up the planet. And the one that became rebellious and the one that was rebuked in the book of Psalms is the one that we view as God. But that Elohim, as Hilton pointed out to me many times, never transgressed the boundary that was spoken by, that he gave to Abraham.
Really?
Check it out. You'll never see that Elohim, Yahweh, ever do anything. He never attacked another Elohim. He never crossed the border that he spoke about that was apparently his defined territory.
And what do you make of that?
He's limited.
Yeah.
He's not omnipresent, not omnipotent. He is he's an alien. There are different species, long-lived. But the fact is, I find it so interesting that the Elohim, or whoever it is that rules that part of the world, that God has never changed. The thing about it I find so odd, it doesn't make multiple covenants.
Oh, so you think that the original being known as Yahweh is the one over in China?
No, I think that Yahweh is the rebellious one.
Okay. And the one in China is a steady one.
I think he may, in fact, be one of the wise ones.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, I really do.
Ancient Chinese wisdom, huh?
Yes, thank you. We always hear this council. It's reticent in Hebraic beliefs. It's the same thing in Islam. It's the same thing where we see the council, the Palladians, we see the council. The council. So it tells me that there's probably some validity to the foundation that there very well is a council. And when I look at the thing over in China, it's odd. There's such stability there over the millennia. It's deviated very little.
And they've had very little interest in the outside world as well.
Listen, they're the only race that built a wall nearly 2,000 miles.
That's because Nancy Pelosi is from California, not China.
Oh, they're going to get you on that one.
Did you see that poor woman stammering and her face spasming, and she can't even say Nancy Pelosi? All she can say without struggling is no money for the wall. Anything other than that, she spasms.
Yeah, it's dementia.
So why do they keep someone that is clearly showing signs of dementia in charge of the House of Representatives?
Because we are at this critical point of a power reshuffle, and the old guard is not wanting to die. And we don't like what we see in the rearview mirror coming up.
Do you think Hillary Clinton died during the last campaign?
I don't know, but I think Ruth Ginsburg is dead.
Yeah. Somebody who I have a great respect for said they think that Hillary died that day that she collapsed on the way to the van.
Yeah.
And it hasn't been Hillary since then.
I don't know. You know, they're good at surrogates.
Somebody said Pelosi is I don't know if they make Pelosi as a clown or a clone, but either way.
She's alive.
Now, you know one of her relatives, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Yeah. Yep.
Interesting.
Good fellow.
You know, she has been in the Senate or the House of Representatives for over 30 years.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we're seeing this.
Is Pelosi a lich?
Ooh.
Wow, that's a good one. Maybe some of these people are liches, and we think they're reptilians. Maybe they're liches.
You know, Americans are so naive. You know, we really don't think that there are secret societies, secret oaths. Power is, I stay away from it. I don't like it. I don't care in the control, but it's tangible.
You know, Bill Clinton looks like he could be a lich, doesn't he?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I am not a lich.
Not a lich. Don't come at me.
I am not. I can't do the Gillis one. I am not a lich.
But I think
did
it's
not have
everywhere.
sex with that lich.
So if there were,
And why are the graveyards always right by the church, Wayne?
well, I often figure it's like this. Why do they have fences around graveyards?
Well, and I thought this the other day, why are the graveyards always right by the churches? Well, every pimp knows you got to keep your liches close.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so, you know, when you talk about this, I swear, and I haven't even gotten into this book. So this one's called The Tending of the Bull, the Starry Bull.
I haven't seen Miss Space Cake in a while. Sorry to interrupt, but nice to see you.
So, you know, Jeff, the old proverb in Ecclesiastes, that which once was shall yet be again. There's nothing new under the sun that has not been known to the mind of man. Correct?
Correct.
Yeah. And so I'm sitting here reading this, and I put down this chat. I put down the book, and I'm going, well, then, have we been here before? I mean, have we somewhere been here? Now, have you heard that many people think that there was a micronova flash in the 70s, and apparently, and I keep on hearing a different date, but apparently we just aren't aware of it, and that we're not actually alive?
I've heard that. Are we all liches? And here's an interesting question. Why do graveyards never get bigger?
I'm telling you, my friend, you know what it is? The more we dig, I do believe the closer we get. I don't know if we're going to like what we find.
Why don't graveyards ever get bigger? I'm trying to think, and I can't remember a graveyard anywhere ever getting bigger, Wayne, ever. Now I remember new graveyards, but I never remembered a graveyard getting bigger. Do I even remember new graveyards? I really don't.
I can't recall if I've ever seen in a city council meeting a permit for raw land for.
Well, Weinsteigen, you look like someone just walked on you free.
Well, they were smoking a joint too, and it was like, what?
Wow, that's so interesting.
That is a
Point.
very
Is this all
interesting.
just a big game? Oh, somebody answered why they put fences around graveyards, Wayne. You open yourself up for this.
What's that?
Because people are dying to get in.
And but this is a very good question. One of, when you go out of New York City and you're heading to LaGuardia and you go on to the 59th Street Bridge and you take this back way and it's through all the graveyards, and as you were saying that, I could remember sitting at the back as the car was taking me. Where do they put all the people in New York City? I mean, there's 8 million of them here?
Yeah.
What's happening? That's a good question. Where is this happening?
Somebody says in Japan you rent a grave for a year. I'd like to get some confirmation from Sterling on that.
For a year?
That's what they say. I don't know.
Well, I'm opting out for cremation. I mean, the way I look at it,
I don't want to be buried in a box. No way, man. I'm still hoping for a Viking funeral. That's what I want, brother.
As the pyre floats out,
Absolutely. Light my ass up.
Love it. Well, Lynn and I have talked about it.
I know it's illegal, but I hope somebody does it anyway.
I think
steal my body, put me on a barge, and light that sucker
let it go out,
fire.
huh?
By the time they get to it, it'll all be over anyway.
Oh, well, one thing about it is we won't be there. That's although you did hear about the story of the Alexander the Great.
Fish has got to eat.
So they found that Alexander the Great was embalmed alive.
Oh, really? I didn't hear that.
Yeah. Come to find out that the disease that he had rendered him paralyzed, where he was barely breathing, and his personal physician pronounced him dead. And it's pretty well established that he was conscious while they went through the burial preparation of the body.
Make one little mistake.
What's that?
Say that he's dead and he's not.
Oh, yeah. Well, the fact is, here was one of the most brilliant minds, statisticians, however you want to look at him. He obviously altered the course of the known world as far as, the Mediterranean, Greek, Roman. So
what people don't realize, and I did include it in my book, Apostle Paul Antichrist, my first book, Alexander the Great made Judaism and Christianity what it is today.
He did. Absolutely, he did.
Yep.
I wish most people would study that. I don't think, Jeff, we would be called the heretics. Let's see, this week I was called.
Well, both the people that read my book know the story, Wayne.
Well, they're better for it, too. We know that there were more, but yeah, I mean, I just tell people all the time. I've had people that I challenged.
Ooh.
I said, go and show me where Lucifer is in the Bible. Yeah. And I said, don't let Bernard, what he wrote in there, remove that. And I said, it's not there. Doesn't
Super
exist.
Jack says he saw a black shuck once in a graveyard. I'm not sure what a shuck is, but
is that a spirit?
Black one in a graveyard probably isn't a really good thing to see.
Okay, so this is what I tell people, Jeff, and here's where I constantly think about, is our consciousness transmuted upon death? I believe it is. You know what most people have never been taught, my friend? That when they pass over, to challenge everything that comes at them.
Oh, I was going to say to chew with their mouth closed.
Do spirits eat?
Oh my God.
I mean, what is they got is that where the tree of life is at?
Maybe.
We know. And by the way, let me digress here. Is one person very astutely wrote, If Adam ate of the tree of knowledge, that meant he was all knowledgeable. He
Ooh,
was.
a shuck is a great big black dog that defends graveyards spiritually. Wow, interesting. I'm going to write that word down.
I did not know that. That may be in one of the toys. I'll have to look at that.
Maybe.
But in your opinion, in your eschatology, why would Adam need to be afraid of anything? If he ate from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, that meant he had all knowledge. How could he have been put out of the garden? How could he have struggled out in the world if he had all knowledge?
That's a good question. I would have to answer because he allowed himself to go into this mud hut body, or you got to remember, if you really want to get conspiratorial, it was Eve who gave to Adam and he did eat. Who knows if Eve gave him the whole thing, and maybe she gave him a rotten one. Maybe she gave him a really little one. Maybe she kept the best part for herself.
I contend it was actually, and this is just my opinion, Lilith.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we have stumbled onto something, my friend. So what's going on here? That means the whole Bible is a bunch of crap. Because if Adam or Lilith, i.e. Eve, let's say whatever, ate of all knowledge, that would make them as equal to God.
Oh, dude, here's what happened, Wayne. Check this out. Lilith ate from the tree and said, no way am I going to be subservient to him. We're all equal. So they ran her ass out of the garden quick.
And redid the story with
somebody else. They had to get him another lich in there.
So that's why Lilith could not have been contained by Michael or Gabriel or Raphael.
Yep.
She challenged the three of them and said, where is your authority? They backed down.
Yep. Interesting stuff.
Oh, this is more than interesting. It changes the whole complete narrative from basically a monotheism, patriarchal mind control.
Absolutely.
You see, this is why I have searched for Lilith. She's out there. I don't think she's ever left.
No, I think Lilith is definitely still, if she's not here, I don't know if she's here physically, but she's definitely interactive in the energetic realms on this planet.
Well, let's just extend this out. If she had all knowledge, Jeff, she would have figured out what eternal life would have been required, how to have made it, how to have succeeded. Wow, this is amazing revelation, my friend.
Mm-hmm.
I've done extensive studies on Lilith, but I had not taken it from the perspective that she gained all knowledge and wasn't about to share it with any male.
That's a good point. And I think that she, and again, just extrapolating, she was willing to do so. What if, Wayne, she took and ate of the knowledge of the tree of good and evil, and she was coming back to give some to Adam, and that's when Adam said, oh, honey, before you speak, let me just share with you that Yahweh and I have decided that you're going to be subservient to me. And she's like, oh, really? And she's got that fruit from the tree of knowledge of good and evil in her little bag. And she says, okay, see ya. What if Adam never got to eat it, Wayne? What if she never gave it to him?
This gets into a lot of, again, the book of Adam and Eve, where, Eve was raped by Yahweh multiple times. And
I think that's Yahweh's wet dream. I don't think that happened personally.
You don't think that happened?
No, I think she was out of there before he ever got a chance.
I'm glad to hear that. But somewhere along the line, the knowledge thing has been overlooked.
Absolutely. It's here. That's really good. This is good stuff.
Let's just stop and think about it. I never get a chance to really get into deep thought on this, but this one is really interesting. That means they had to change the whole narrative from the get-go.
And people say, oh, it was because Eve didn't want to be on the bottom. Eve wanted to be on top, and they want us to extrapolate that into just a sexual thing. It wasn't about she didn't want to be on the bottom sexually. It was that she didn't want to be dominated. She wanted to be equal. That's all. So don't let them convince you that it was a sexual thing. That's just silly.
The word is subjugated.
Yeah, she knew she was divine, sovereign, free. She knew that they were created equal by the Elohim, and she just wanted what was the way it was supposed to be.
So we never hear about the divine feminine. Oh, I hear about the divine masculine. I hear that all the time. Father God. I hear people and they always say Father this and, referring to God. And I'm
Yeah,
going,
the father. Well, where the hell's the mother? And let me tell you this, you can't get a father without first having a mother.
Folks, it just don't work. Listen.
So if there is just one, it's probably a mother.
Well, technically, couldn't the mother, she doesn't actually need the father in essence that, we know that there are asexual creatures. This is interesting, Jeff. This requires and demands a closer look now.
It does.
Jeff, all knowledge. She ate of the tree of knowledge, regardless good or evil. Who the hell cares? I mean, that's the thing.
I don't think she ever gave it to Adam.
I don't think she did either, Jeff. I don't think it was Eve. I think it was Lilith.
I do too. And that's why they've been pissed at women ever since.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I think they got so mad that the replacement they did with Lilith, this is why women today still suffer from this thing. It's in the genetic code.
Interesting.
This is
woman's intuition.
Oh, everything. My wife can spot a guy who is cheating on his wife like that.
Really?
We have been in many social gatherings and even business, and she has a spotless record.
Interesting.
So, it just goes to show you, did Lilith give Eve the fruit?
I would say no.
I don't think so. I think Lilith left. I think she went off to build her own kingdom.
And they talk about, Lilith is, now the mythology is that Lilith is a baby killer. Lilith kills babies. But if you read the Gospel of Philip, I believe, actually what really happened, and I think this is the truth, Lilith said, hey, look, I just want to be equal. They said to her, no. She said, okay, I'm leaving. And it was Yahweh that said, every day that you don't come back, I will kill 1,000 babies.
Yes, he did. Yeah.
It wasn't Lilith at all. She's got a bad rap.
I've got in fact, it's odd, Jeff. It's sitting right here next to me. That Gospel of Philip. I encourage everyone to please read that. You're going to be astounded when you read that, because that's also where the Christ said there is no sin.
Yeah.
He also said that in the Gospel of Mary, isn't it right? The Gospel of Mary Magdalene. Yeah.
And Yahweh is a proven baby killer.
Wow. Jeff, there is something here. So this is what my mind immediately reverts to. That which is above is below, that which is below, which is above, that which is in is out, out which is in.
It's an inverse world.
So what did Lilith, what has she done here? Where is her representation today, do you think?
I have to ponder that. I think that I've thought this, and I'll go back and research it. I thought that Sophia actually incarnated in Lilith.
Yeah. Because Sophia with Pistis, they were always together, but it was Sophia. It was Pistis who went back up into herself and withdrew.
Gary Baxter says his goosebumps have goosebumps.
Well, this is deep stuff, folks. This is
deep stuff.
This is what unlocks mysteries. This demands a closer look into Lilith, because she has to have built herself the counter to Yahweh, Jeff. She had to have.
Built herself a counter?
A countered kingdom.
Maybe.
He's extracted 1,000 of her children a day for how many millennia?
Yeah. Interesting. Yep, I'm already down that path just thinking. That's wild. That's wild stuff. There's a lot more to know about this.
This is good stuff, Jeff.
Yep.
This is why I do these shows on Sunday. There is revelation knowledge that comes forth that it's only because you allow yourself the freedom of thinking that says, all right, I'm not going to take the standard stuff that they're feeding me.
Oh, here's another little wrinkle, Wayne. Lilith was rumored to have been redheaded. The Neanderthals were predominantly redheaded, and they just disappeared. Nobody knows where they went.
Yeah, they were.
Did
Weren't
Yahweh
they?
just kill them all? 1,000 at a time?
Because that's how the church, as it acquired new territory. I mean, with the Cathars, this was what the, not only did the papacy, but the monarchy, they got their land. And with new land brought new wealth, the tithe. And, folks, I can't believe it, Jeff. I want my money back. I estimate I've given close to $1 million. I want my money back. I mean, isn't that a con?
It's exactly a con. It's a good con.
Strip my pockets, brother. But getting back to the redheads and the Neanderthals, weren't they primarily dominant up in Siberia?
That I don't know.
I believe I would be correct on that. They have found the cave where they have found the Neanderthals and Denisovans lived together, mated together.
David says, could the Bible be a big fairy tale? Yeah.
I just heard of Beavis and Butthead. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It totally is. Pull your shirt over your head.
He just said that the Bible was a fairy tale.
Pull your shirt over your head. The Bible, I'm going to give you a revelation, ladies and gentlemen. The Bible was written by Cornholio.
I tell you, this is Jeff. The Caucasus Mountains, is that what Sean says?
I didn't see that one.
I think that's where it is, the Caucasus Mountain. There's a story that was just out today, National Geographic, as they continue in this cave that they have found the Neanderthals and the Denisovans were intermingled. This is very interesting.
Well, someone just said you could use the Bible as TP, and the pages are nice and thin, and yeah, you probably could.
Yeah, perhaps Lilith lives in China.
That's interesting.
That's very interesting. My friend, I see, wow, this is good. And I have no doubt, do your study on it. I'll do mine, but this, my friend, this is titillating.
It is indeed.
This, I think, may, in a lot of ways, begin to show, Jeff, hear me out on this. Maybe this is a way to bring that equilibrium, amongst the genders. The Cathars, they believed that both sexes were equal. There was no superiority in either one. And of course, they didn't like that in the 12th century. Let's see. The Paragus skulls came from the Caucasus Mountains and had red hair, green eyes. Thank you, Zora. Yeah.
Interesting. How do you know what color eyes a skull had?
I don't know.
Just a question.
They probably could do that through the DNA.
Maybe.
I don't know. Lilith can't live in China because they can't say. God, do you see that?
Yeah, they just call it Illith over there.
Yeah, they just call it Illith. But I think we may have found. So you just think about this, and with your, decades of your study, same on mine. But you look at this.
Super Jack is right. There's something about it. He says Lilith is a very sexy name.
Oh, it is.
And it sort of is, yeah.
Yeah. And she's been so vilified by the church, by so many others, even, I don't even know if she's mentioned in the Quran. I hadn't even thought about this. There is something here. I think this may be one of the greatest mysteries that I don't see any books written on it. I don't see the video that I did on it. I got my hat, handed to me by the Christians, because this was heresy of the utmost, level. Exactly.
Now that was for somebody in
Oh,
particular, Wayne.
I thought you was just waving them off, but Jeff, this is amazing.
It is powerfully amazing. It really is.
I don't know. My mind is a wheeling on this one.
I can't wait. Yeah, this is going to be a really good study right here. And it goes back to I asked myself this question for a couple of weeks. I haven't done anything more than put it on the whiteboard. It just says Yahweh is a cross-dresser.
Huh.
I mean, could Lilith have got so pissed that she became Yahweh? Just throwing that out there. I don't think so. I think that she's a benevolent entity.
I think she is too.
Yeah.
You know, okay, so I know we may go a minute here, but the whole thing that I was having a conversation yesterday with someone, they finally got it. They said, went back, look at what you and Jeff had been talking about. And sure enough, it was this Jehovah God that commanded the Jews, the Israelites, to do all the killing, the massacring, et cetera, become convinced now that, you know, the story has been hijacked, but they come back to the whole point of going, so what is the real story?
Right.
There may be something here, Jeff. Well, let me ask you something. So Yahweh, Jehovah, is a very vengeful God, right? He says that he is a vengeful, jealous God.
Right. He himself admits to that.
What if that's what he's jealous of?
Of Lilith?
Of Lilith.
Oh yeah, I'm sure Lilith might have been the first person ever to defy him. And she was a woman, so that's why the Christianity, Islam, Judaism is so anti-woman.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Still to this day. We're in the
To this day.
21st century.
Yep.
And the subjugation of women in the modern world is ridiculous.
Yep.
My friend, this one here was worth the price of admission twice.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. This is
Yeah.
great stuff.
I have to give this one definitely a 5-star rating for today.
So next time somebody starts talking to you about the father, just ask them, what about the mother?
Yeah. And why a male savior?
Ooh,
Why not a
Gary
daughter?
Baxter. Could Lilith be Lucifer?
Whoa.
Because she brought the knowledge. She's the one that holds
Oh,
knowledge.
Gary. I think
Uh-oh.
we got to get Gary a Starbucks card to get you a cup of coffee on that one, Gary.
You know, you used to be able to do that, Wayne,
Yeah.
through
Oh, you can't anymore?
Facebook, and I can't find out how to do it because I was going to send my moderators.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you can't do it anymore. Or at least I can't see how to do it anymore.
Facebook is getting weirder, but this is good, Gary. I like this. Lilith, Lucifer.
That's a good one.
So
That's a real
God,
good one.
when you think of it, God is defined guardian of divinity. I am seeing a whole lot of correlation here, my friend.
Yeah. Interesting stuff, ladies and gentlemen. Looks like we got some work to do.
This is why people tune in.
I think it is.
You know?
I definitely think it is.
Well,
Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, says Trina Phoenix.
Yeah, Trina, think about it. Absolutely. This is marvelous. Fertility. You can't have a male in charge and expect to have fertility.
Nope.
It would become a blank slate.
Great stuff.
Jeff, you know what? If you ever want to co-op on a book, this would be well worth a book writing.
It would.
I'm serious. This is good. This is good stuff.
Powerful.
So I think about all of the cults of the snake. Holy shit. Excuse me. I'm seeing a theme now in here. They saw it as a male personification, but it never was male.
Oh, the serpent?
The serpent.
Yeah.
Never was.
I can
They
go with
just
that.
they distorted it right from the get-go by giving it a male personification. So from there on out, you're going to see everything as the exact male as you do with the male God, the male
Absolutely.
savior. The female has been removed from the equation totally.
Yeah.
So let's reverse the story. The serpent was Lilith trying to come back and maybe rescue Adam.
Yeah.
Woo!
And she's ubiquitous throughout human culture.
Yes.
That means everywhere all the time. Those of you from Rio Linda.
I don't think Blazing River, I don't think she lives in the Vatican. No, if she does, she
No.
would be a prisoner.
If she was in the back and she'd be tearing that place up.
Yeah, I think they would be having a new rectum.
A new orifice, yeah.
Yeah.
Let's just put it this way. If Lilith was in the Vatican, you could see Uranus from there.
Well, now think about this, folks. Think about it. There never has been a female pontiff. That would be absolutely heresy.
Well, you couldn't. Oh, and Renaissance woman has says, like Jesus said, be cunning as the serpent. Be subtle as the serpent.
Yeah.
And if she held her knowledge close to her belt and didn't just give it away,
why would she?
Yeah, why would she?
She wouldn't give it to an angel. An angel would be subservient to her. Why?
Yeah.
She got all the knowledge.
Yeah. There we go, ladies and gentlemen. This
I should have the purple cloud above my head, just poof. I mean, this is deep.
I'll get back to the Jehovah's Witness series. Sorry, I got sidetracked from that.
Well, not like this one isn't going to be a major off-ramp.
I know.
You're just going to have to build a whole new freeway.
Witch trials. I mean, you can go throughout history and look and just follow the destruction of the sacred feminine.
Well, look at the Inquisition. That happened both with the Spanish and the papacy that went through.
Yeah.
The men suffered for it, but it was the women who went the sexual torture. What they did to the women back in those, you don't
even want to go down there.
I don't want to even go down here. But now it makes sense why the male has hated the feminine.
Yep. Because she rebelled at the beginning and she has never, ever given in.
Jeff, my friend, say what you will, but this is revolutionary.
It is. Thank you for being here, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Jeff.
David says he's so confused. Good for you, because that's where it all starts, when you realize this shit don't make sense.
You got it right. Yeah.
That's where it begins.
That's exactly it.
Wayne.
Thank you.
Another great one, my friend.
Jeff, always a privilege and a delight. I have enjoyed this, my friend.
Absolutely. We'll see you again real soon.
All right, my friend.
Oh, by the way, Wayne, I
Yes,
just
sir?
made my reservations for LeagueCon, so I will be in Denver in May.
Well, good. I'll
So we'll
come up and see y'all.
definitely have to meet up.
Yeah. I don't have to do anything on reservations.
That's right.
I live here.
How is that Marriott Tech Center?
It's good.
Cool.
Good. It's right across. Shanahan's is right across the street from there. Great steakhouse. Pricey, but you get to go there and see Mike Shanahan's 3 Super Bowls or whatever it is. They're all there.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah.
Well, then we'll see you in May.
Well, look forward to it. I'm looking forward to it, Jeff.
All right, folks. For Wayne Steiger, I'm Jeffrey Daugherty. This has been another Not Your Normal Sunday show. And boy, it hasn't been, and it never is. And we'll be seeing you next time.